Just a reminder to silence our cell phones as we begin. And we take our prayer books. And we will begin our Shachrit section of our service on page 147 as the cantor begins Shochenad. And just a reminder for all our Jewish men that are here, there are taluses right outside here. We just invite you to please do put on a talus for all our Jewish men 13 and over that are here. And we open up our prayer books, and the cantor begins Shochenad, page 147.
Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranu tzadikim b'Adonai la yesharim nava tehila b'fi yesharim tithala u'divrei tzadikim titbarach u'vilshon chasidim titromam u'v'kerev kedoshim תתקדש ומקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל להודות להלל לשבח לפעל לרומם להדר לברך להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חי העולמים.
Please rise.
יגדל ויקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ויעמד ירקירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון אביון מחון ובחיידךו בית ישראל. ועגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. ועגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולם לעלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן ואמרו אמן ואמרו אמן ואמרו אמן אמן.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל.
And please be seated now as we continue in our prayer books, page 150.
אפס פלטך גולנו לימות המשיח, ואין דם מלך המשיחנו, לתחיית המתים. Page 151. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה. עולם, דת ותבונה סובבים אותו, המתגאה על חיות הקודש. ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכור ומישור לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאורו שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת, בבינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נאה זיוון בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים באימה רצון קונם, ואל וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, רע והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבח שבח נותנים לו, כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ביופנים וחיות יתברך משה על שבח מעשה ידיך ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפרוך הסלע. 153. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ובטהרה, בשירה ובזמרה ובזמרה, ומברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים. להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ברורה ובנימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. והאופנים מחיון הקודש בנש גדול, מתנשאים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. 2 lines from the bottom. Lauren leads us in Or Chadash.
Or Chadash, Al Zion Ta'ir, V'nizke Chulanu, Meheru Le'aro, Baruch Atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot.
Middle of 154, Ahavienu.
Ahavienu leshalom, me'arba kanfot haaretz, v'tolichenu komemiyut le'artzenu, ki el po yeshuotata, uvanu v'chota mikolam v'lashon, v'keraftanu l'shimcha hagadol, Selah, Selah, be'emet, lehodot lecha, uyahecha be'ahava, Baruch Atah Adonai, Aboher be'amo Yisrael, be'ahava.
We join together in the Shema, 155.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך וכשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Let me continue silently, page 156. Middle of the page, we join together. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. לדוד ארוך קיים ושמו קיים וחיסון נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך. משה ומירם ובני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה אמרו כולם. Middle of 158, Lauren leads us in מי כמוך.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, נורא תהילות, עושי פלא. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, לשמך לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Please rise.
צור ישראל כמו בעזרת ישראל ובדחי נאומך יהודה וישראל go עלינו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
And we join together the opening of the Amidah, page 159.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר הסתי אבות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ופוקד ומשיח ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מחכה חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדם מלך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לך חיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים
161 נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות ולא כל הארץ כבודו אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מתנשאים לעומת שרפים לעומתם ברוך יומנו ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך בציון וקרוב בימינו לעולם ועת תשכון תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים ירושלים עירך לדור ודור לדור ודור ולנצח ולנצח נצחים מעינינו תראנה תראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד על ידי דוד על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור hallelujah. Lauren leads us in לדור ודור.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור
Continue silently, pages 162 through 166. Please be seated as you conclude the Amidah. Continue with Kaddish Shalem, page 167.
Yitgadal v'kadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra kirutei, ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechan v'yom nechan v'chaytecho be'Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kari ve'imeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mehorach, le'alam u'lal me'amaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yiramam v'yinaseh, yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei l'kudesha reichu, le'elan min kol birchata v'shirata, tishbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma ve'imeru, amen. Titkabal tzilot achon uva'ut achon decho Yisrael, Kodam avuhon devishmaya ve'imeru, amen. Yehi shalom amrabam min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru, amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'asei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru,
We now turn to page 168 for our Torah service this morning. And I'd like to invite anyone with an honor during our Torah service this morning to please come forward and sit here in this section of our sanctuary so our Gabaim can find you at the appropriate times during our Torah service this morning. And again, I want to welcome everyone to Congregation Beth Yeshurun. It's a pleasure to have all of you with us as we celebrate Lauren's bat mitzvah. We continue now at page 168 at the top of the page, Ein Kamocha.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutcha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol ador v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam eved, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, av harachamim etiva b'ritzoncha et Zion, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, ki b'chal levan batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa Adon olamim.
Please rise.
ויהי אהרון ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא Middle of 170. Be'anad ha'chetz v'lishmei kadisha kadisha yakira ana emartu shbechan yehi ra'ava kodamach tetiftach libi be'oraita v'tashlim mishalin delibi וליבא דכל עמך ישראל לטבל חיים ולשלום אמן. (171)
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema. Lecha Adonai HaGadol VeHaGevur VeHaTiferet VeHaNetzach VeHaHod Ki Chol Vashamayim Uvaretz Ki Chol Vashamayim Uvaretz Lecha Adonai HaMamlacha VeYamid Nazeh Lechol Rosh Romemu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'hishtachavo Ve'hishtachavo Lahadom Ratlav Kadosh Hu Romemu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'hishtachavo Ve'hishtachavo Lehar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
You may be seated. We now switch from that kind of, moderately sized red book to the much larger, heavier red book underneath your seats, our Chumash, where we have all of the readings of the Torah and the associated readings from the prophets that we have for the day. And today, the parsha is Vayishlach. Vayishlach it's a showdown. It's a showdown part of the Torah. We have these two brothers who have been fighting since birth, since they were literally being born. They've been engaged in combat with each other in a fight, and now we're going to see that sort of come to a head, and we'll see how that all unfolds. Not in real time, because the part we're reading from the Torah literally today is all about whose babies were whose. So it's not the most interesting literally to read right now. However, if you scoot a little bit further, a little earlier, than we're reading today. Still in Vayishlach, it is very, very interesting. However, that's not what we're reading today. Anyway, chapter 35. We're in the triennial cycle. We read a third at a time, and this is what happens some years. We are going to be reading in chapter 35, starting with verse 16. No, 16, sorry.
ויעזור, ויעגם ישיר כל הכסים בבנמר, רמנה כל הגודל להינו נוכבדרה, ויעמדו דרישון, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו, ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם, חיים כולכם היום.
For the first to Leah. For the first to Leah. The trick is to find a microphone. For the first to Leah, we call Lauren's aunt and uncle, Joshua and Emily Mintz. As the rabbi mentioned, we're on page 214, verses 16 through 26.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Ba'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim Venatan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayisu mi Bethel, vayihod kifrat haaretz lavo, Ephrata, vatelet Rachel v'takash b'lidata, vayihibak shota b'lidata, vatomer lam yaledet al tirihi, ki gam zelach bein, vayihib tzeit nafsha ki meta, vatigra shemo benoni, v'avriv karalo vinyamin, vatamad Rachel, vatikaver v'derech Ephrata hi beit lachem, Vayatzev Yaakov matzeva al kvudrata, he matzevet kvurat Rachel ad hayom. Vayisa Yisrael vayedalo mehal amigdala heder. Vayehi bishkon Yisrael ba'aretz ahi. Vayelech Ruvain vayishkavet bilha bilegesh aviv. Vayishma Yisrael. Vayivnei Yaakov shnei masar. B'nei Leah b'chor Yaakov Ruvain v'Shimon v'Levi v'Yehuda v'Yisachar. Uzvulun, B'nei Rachel, Yosef, V'Vinyamin, Uvnei Bilha, Shivchat Rachel, Dan B'Naftali, Uvnei Zilpah, Shivchat Leah, Gad V'Asher, El B'nei Yaakov, Asher Yidalo, B'Fadan Abraham.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'Hayei Olam Nata Betochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yamdu Sheni.
For the second. For the second Leah, we call Lauren's best friends Emma Zadok, Evadal, Aru, Leah Selkin, and Aviv Por. We're now on page 215, verses 27 through 29. Our reader is Sister Ellie.
Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Hamim, Venatan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayavo Yaakov El Yitzhak Aviv Mamre Kirya Ha'arba Hi Hebron Asher Gasham Abraham Veyitzhak Vehyu Yemei Yitzhak Ve'at Shana Ushmanim Shana Vayikva Yitzhak Vayavot El Yasef El Amav Zaken Usva Yamim Vikveru Oto Esav Yaakov Vana. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Well, I think that's the largest group of people we've ever had for an Aliyah, and the most well-dressed. I feel put to shame today. I kind of lied earlier when I said that what we're reading in the Torah literally right now is not interesting. It is a list of, which sons were born to which wives, which is not, no offense to the Torah, the most interesting. However, it is a good time for a fun fact. We are now going to hear about who are Esau's descendants. Esau has several wives from among the Canaanite women. His parents are not happy. They don't like those Canaanite women. And when we learn that, when Esau learns that his parents don't like these women he's married, he goes and, without being asked, marries a woman from their own tribe, their own clan. He tries to do right by his parents, and who does he marry in his family? Who could be left? He marries the daughter of his uncle, Ishmael. Fun fact. And we're going to learn all of his wives and children, and that's not so interesting. But fun fact, he does marry a cousin, his uncle Ishmael's daughter.
Yom Shlishi.
For the third Leah, we call family friends Amy and Segev Zadok, and Liba and Todd Stern. The reading is on page 216. We're in a new chapter, chapter 36, verses 1 through 8. And the reader is our Beth Yeshurun Balkore, Rabbi Danny Horowitz.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'yelet odod Esav hu Edom. Esav l'achad neshav mi b'not Canaan et Adah bat Elon achiti v'et Olivama bat Anah bat Sivan achivi v'et Basmat bat Yishmael achod nevayot v'telet Adah l'Esav et Eliphaz u'Basmat yalda et Ruel v'Olivama yalda et Yehush v'et Elam v'et Korach ele b'nei Esav asher yudelo b'Eretz Canaan v'yikach Esav et Nashav Yebanav Yebanotav Yed Kol Nafshot Beitov Yed Migneu Yed Kol Bemtov Yed Kol Kinyano Asher Achash B'Eretz Canaan Vayelech El Eretz Mipnei Yaakov Achiv Ki Haya Rechusham Rab Mishevet Yachtav V'lo Yachla Eretz Megureim Lasedotam Mipnei Miknehem Vayeshev Esav Bahar Seir Esav Hu Edom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yom Revi'i.
For the fourth Leah, we call great aunt and great uncle Steve and Gail Waldman. We're now on page 217, verses 9 through 19.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'yelet odod Esav v'Edom bahar seir. Ele Shemo ben Esav Eliphaz, ben Adai shel Esav Ruel, ben Basmat shel Esav, Vayu ben Eliphaz, Teman, Omar, Tzafo, v'Gatam, Meknaz, v'Timnah, Aitafi Gesh Eliphaz ben Esav, v'Atel Eliphaz et Amalek, Ele ben Adai shel Esav, v'Ele ben Ruel, Nachat v'Zerach Shema Misa, Ela hayu v'nei Basmat eshet Esav, V'ela hayu v'nei Eliav, bat Anah, bat Sivon eshet Esav, bat Teled Esav, et Yehush v'et Elam yet Korach, Ela alufei b'nei Esav, b'nei Eliphaz b'chor Esav, aluf Teman, aluf Omar, aluf Tzefo, aluf Kenaz, aluf Kahorach, aluf Gatam, aluf Amalek, Ela alufei Eliphaz b'Eretz Edom, Ela b'nei Adah, Ela b'nei Ruel ben Esav, aluf Nachat, aluf Zerach, aluf Shama, aluf Mizah, Ela alufei Ruel b'Eretz Edom, Ela b'nei Basmat eshet Esav, V'Ela b'nei Eliavama eshet Esav, aluf Yahush, aluf Yalam, aluf Korach, Ela alufei Olivama bat Anah eshet Esav, Eile b'nei Esav, v'eile alufeim hu Edom.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam nata b'chotenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yamdu Chamishi.
For the fifth Aliyah, great aunt and uncle Susie and Elliot Gerstenhaber. We're on page 218, verses 20 through 30.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Eil b'nei Seir Achovri Yoshvei Haaretz Lotan v'Shabbat v'Tzivon v'Ana v'Dishan v'Eitzer v'Dishan Eil alufei Achovri b'nei Seir b'Eretz Edom v'Ayu b'nei Lotan Chori v'Imam v'Yachot Lotan Timna V'Eil b'nei Shaval Alvan Menachet v'Eval Shvo v'Anam V'Eil b'nei Tzivon v'Aya v'Ana v'Ana Asher Matzat HaYamim b'Midbar v'Rato Rachomrim l'Tzivon Haviv V'Eil b'nei Ana Dishan v'Aliv HaMabatana Ve'eile b'nei Dishon Chemdan v'Yashban v'Yitran u'Chran Eile b'nei Yetzer Bilhan v'Zavan v'Akan Ve'eile b'nei Dishon Utz v'Aran Eile alufei Achori Aluf Lotan Aluf Shaval Aluf Tzivon Aluf Ana Aluf Dishan Aluf Atzar Aluf Dishan Eile alufei Achori La'alufei Hen B'Eretz Seir.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yamdu Shishi.
For the sixth Aliyah, we call Lauren's good cousins, Alex Wren and Brooke Rychick. We're on page 219, verses 31 through 39.
So yeah, kiss the spot where the rabbi, yes, and then pass it to Brooke. And Brooke will do the same. Okay, and then you're ready.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'yeila Malachim Asher Malchu B'Eretz Edom Lifnei Malach Melech Livnei Yisrael Vayimloch V'Adam Bel Ben Bor V'Shem Irodin Hava Vayamod Bala Vayimloch Taktav Yovav Ben Zerach Mibatzra Vayamod Yovav Vayimloch Taktav Husham Me Eretz Hatemani Vayamod Husham Vayimloch Taktav Hadad Ben Badad Amoked Midyan Bistei Moav V'Shem Iro Avid Vayamod Hadad Vayimloch Taktav Samlami Masreka Vayamod Samla Vayimloch Taktav Shaul Merchavot Hanahar Vayamot Shaul Vayimloch Taktav Balchanan Ben Achbor Vayamad Balchanan Ben Achbor Vayimloch Taktav Hadar V'Shem Iro Pa'u V'Shem Ishto Meitavel Bad Madred Bad Mezahav.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Temet V'hayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
We pause now to do a Misha Barak for the Kalima prayer for those who are in need of healing. we think God's always listening, so whenever you have to say a prayer for someone who needs healing, of course you should say it any time, but we feel that we are more in a mind space to think of those who are in need of healing when we're reading the Torah. God's presence feels hopefully especially close. So I'm going to say the prayer in Hebrew, and then I'm going to add the list of names that I have here. And then when I pause, you can feel free to say that name out loud of someone you're thinking of who needs healing, whether it's healing in their body, their mind, their soul, their spirit. You can say that name in your heart also, because God actually hears everything either way. Jewish, not Jewish, English, Hebrew, doesn't matter. God understands all of it. So I will say, Meshiberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel v'Yavirach Kol HaChalima Ele Akiva ben Julian ve'Esther Eliza bat Rivka Anat bar Kohen bat Brindel ve'Yaakov Ar Yehuda ben Odaya Avraham Fishel ben Zahava Brina ben Sion Avraham Yitzchak ben Chaim Avram ben Yitzchak Beluna Bela Rivka bat Saralea ben Yamin ben Avraham Daniela bat Bela ve'Yosef Davida Rivka bat Dina Devar Esther bat Figa Peril Elazar ben Ramon ben Mimi HaKohen Eliyahu Ariel ben Yafa Rav Zivia Chana bat Sarah Urachmiel Yosef Ilana Bagita Menachem ben Miriam bat Rachel, Miriam Esther bat Rezel, Moshe ben Yaakov HaLevi, Penina bat Sarah, Paya Rivka bat Ruvain Levi vePesahita, Pinchas ben Shoshana veAvraham, Ruth Haida bat Esther, Shmuel ben Rita, Tova bat Leah, Yehuda bat Natan bet Zion, Yehudit bat Gessi, Yonatan ben Eleanor, Yosef ben Avraham v'Sarah, Rodney Blake, Vera Blum, Martin Block, Bradley Borden, Hal Borland, Marion Braun, John Fladowitz, Paulette Fladowitz, John Fywell, Chase Brian Friedrich, Harvey J. Freiberg, Nellie Ora Garson, Sydney and Mark Gold, Mike Gordon, Bill Granick, Michelle Greenberg, Sheila Jackson, Phyllis Joachim, Nechama Joseph, Renee Karolinsky, Melissa Kelly, Margie Kasoy, Brian Lavage, Jason Lupoloff, Max Lupoloff, Alan Malowitz, Dorothy Marr, Tyler Miller, Vicky Mitrani, Marilyn Mulbauer, Jill Smiley Needleman, Joyce Oppenheimer, Rochelle Palla, Marcia Pappert, Trey Foa, Leslie Rofwag, Steve Davis Rosenbaum, Julie Scheinthal, Diana Richard Shapiro, Ike Shapiro, Bertie Simmons, Marty Snyder, Howard Sorkin, Charles Schul, Fran Spector, Wendy Tavares, Guillermo Vasquez, Mindy Vetter, Mike Vine, Jerry Wender, Janice Sin.
Freda Batsivia, Rivka Batshlavit.
Richard Mitz.
Richard. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all in our congregational family who are in need of healing at this time. Bring them a speedy and complete recovery of body, mind, soul, and spirit. Bring wisdom, God, and knowledge to their caregivers, doctors, and nurses, because when they know what they're doing, the ones we love feel better faster. And bring strength to us as well, because when the people we care about know that we feel strong in your love, they feel that love channeled right through us to them. And please, God, give them the blessings you give all of your children. Let us all say, Amen.
Amen. Yam Dushvi.
For the seventh Aliyah, we call Lauren's very proud parents, Jeffrey and Chris Getz. Lauren will be our reader. We're on page 220, verses 40 through 43.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. Venatan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ele Shemot. Alufei Esav lemishpechotam. Limkomotam bismotam. Aluf Timnah. Aluf Alva. Aluf Yetet. Aluf Oholivama. Aluf Elah. Aluf Pinon. Aluf Kenaz. Aluf Teman. Aluf Mifsar. Aluf Magdiel. Aluf Iram. Ele Alufei Edom. Lemoshevotam be'eretz achuzatam. Hu Esav avi Edom.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher natan lanu Torah temet. B'chayei olam nata betuchenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
We rise for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתקנל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמדי וחירותי ועמק מלכותי, בחייכם וביומכם, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיים. יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה ואמרו.
Seated.
And now with great pride and joy, we call on our bat mitzvah, Lauren, to come to the Torah. תעמוד הבחורה הבת מצווה, דליה ברכה בת גבריאל ושיינה רבקה, מפטיר חזקי, עלי לקבל את אור התורה.
Lauren's Mafta reading is a repeat. We remain on page 220, verses 40 through 43.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Avraham Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim Ve'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Ve'ele Shemot Alufei Esav Lemishpachotam Limkomotam Bishmatam Aluf Timna Aluf Ava Aluf Yetet Aluf Oholivama Aluf Ela Aluf Pinon Aluf Kenaz Aluf Teman Aluf Mifsar Aluf Magdiel Aluf Iram Eile Alufei Edom Lemoshevotam Be'eretz Achuzatam Hu Esav Avi Edom Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yamdu amag v'yavahagalahalan.
To lift and dress the Torah, we call upon Joshua and Emily Mintz. Please rise.
וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. תורה, 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 תורה ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 תורה ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 תורה ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 תורה ציווה לנו משה.
You may be seated. We ask a lot of our bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs up here. We ask that they read Torah. We ask that they read Haftorah. We also ask that they deliver a davar Torah, because now, as the newest Jewish adult in our community, it is their, right and responsibility to look at this Torah, look at our tradition, and look into it and saying, what is still relevant? What has meaning to me? And if it has meaning to me, it should have meaning to you as well. So we are very excited to hear Lauren deliver her bat mitzvah davar Torah.
Have you ever made a mistake and not known how to fix it? My Torah portion, Vayishlach, teaches that it's never too late to make things right and turn things around for the better. The Torah tells the story of how Jacob deceived his father into giving him the special firstborn blessing and birthright that was meant for his brother Esau, which caused great conflict between him and his brother. Jacob spent many years away from home and his brother as he tried to figure out how to make things right. In my parsha, we see his struggle was not just to make peace with Esau, but also with his own conscience, and on a deeper, more spiritual level, to make peace with God. While away, Jacob prepared for the day that he would reunite with his brother after what he had done. The Torah is unclear about whether Jacob ever offered an apology to his brother through his words, but it is very clear that he tried to make things better with his brother through his actions. Jacob offered Esau many gifts and sent messengers in an effort to show his regret and try to repay Esau for what he had done. He may not have known exactly how to fix things or make things right, but he wanted to. Just before Jacob returns to reunite with his brother, he encounters a man in the middle of the night and wrestles with him. In his fight with this man, Jacob gets injured, but he will not give up until he overcomes this struggle and receives the man's blessing. Who was this man? The Torah is unclear. Was he an angel from God? Was he an angel of Jacob's brother Esau? Was he Jacob's own conscience? And was this fight just a dream, or did it really happen? From my perspective, Jacob's struggle with this man represents Jacob's internal struggle with his own conscience. Jacob wanted to make things right with his brother and was struggling with himself to find a way to do it and overcome his dishonesty. Just like in his struggle with this man, Jacob would not give up until he could make peace with his brother. In the end, Jacob and Esau's reunion offered them both a new beginning to move forward together in peace. Growing up, my sister and I have gotten into a few arguments. Okay, maybe more than a few. Okay, maybe a lot. And regardless of who's at fault, when we find ourselves in the middle of one, we don't always know what to say or do to make things better between us. We love each other, though, so being in a fight is no bueno. We each know when we have messed up because deep down we know when we have done something wrong, but sometimes we struggle to make things better with each other. So my mom came up with this thing. She told us that whenever we find ourselves in an argument that we can't easily resolve or find our way out of, those times when we really want our problems with each other or the mistakes that we've made to just go away so that we can start fresh, we can say, 1, 2, 3, do over. In these moments, we don't have to search for the perfect words to express how we feel or to explain our intentions. We don't have to wait as long as Jacob did to figure out how to make peace. My sister and I both just know, as silly as this little do-over thing may seem to us, that those small few words mean a whole lot. They mean that each of us wants to make the situation better and have a fresh start, even when we don't exactly know what else to say or do to make things better. And believe it or not, these do-overs actually work. We each know that at least in the moment saying do-over is our apology until we can find better words for one, and our way of expressing to each other that our relationship means more than the conflict we're in. And our desire to do better moving forward gives us hope that we will have more fun times together until the next time we need a do-over. I would first like to thank everyone in Congregation Beth Yeshurun, especially Cantor Dorf for helping me learn my prayers, Torah, and Torah portions, Rabbi Fort for helping me with my davar Torah, Cantor Finkelstein for giving me the confidence to sing in front of all of you guys, Rabbi Strauss for being a great rabbi and being here to lead my bat mitzvah service with me. To all of my extended family, Uncle Silly and Aunt Gail, PB and LT, Aunt Bevo, Uncle Steve, Claire and Tom, Jan and Jim, my mom and Barb. I love you all, and I'm so grateful for the relationship I have with each of you. I'm so lucky to be able to call you my family and have your names on my family tree. Alex, Greg, Avery, Laney, and Davis. Thank you for all of our Dallas Thanksgivings, family trips, and super fun memories we have made together. I love you all so much and look forward to making many more. Brooke, Jonathan, Ethan, Reese, and Reagan. Thank you for taking me in as one of your kids when my parents were out of town and for being my super fun Houston cousins. I'm so lucky to have you guys as my cousins. Andy, Farron, Haley, and April. I know that we don't get to see each other often, but being together in watercolor this summer was hopefully the start of many more fun family vacations together. I love you all. Uncle Josh and Aunt Omeo. Uncle Josh, aka Uncle Gangsta. You're pretty swag, but not as swag as me. You're the craziest uncle ever. I love when you come over to hang out with us, even when you stop by to raid our refrigerator. I love you so much. Aunt Omeo, thank you for falling in love with my crazy Uncle Gangsta, because I couldn't imagine our family without you as my aunt. You're an awesome aunt and in-house dermatologist. So thank you for being both. I love you. Uncle Justin, Aunt Shan, and Sutter. Uncle Justin, aka Hulk. You have been an awesome uncle and friend since day one. I remember running and jumping in your arms when I was little, and you would pick me up. I'm obviously a little too big for that now. I mean, look at me. Aunt Shan, I remember when I first met you. We were sitting at Thanksgiving reading Fancy Nancy. Can't forget our consecutive tiring but dance parties with Sutter in Austin. Thank you guys for being my favorite Disney family to ever exist. Nana and Grandpa. Nana, what would I do without my crazy San Antonio sugar rushes? I mean, seriously, every chocolate milk should be served with a chocolate straw and Nesquik powder. I also love our morning cuddles while watching the news together. Grandpa, I love visiting you guys and waking up to the smell of your delicious breakfast. Seriously, I don't know what you put in that stuff, but I think it's magic. Schmoopy, thank you for showing up to my first ever grandparents' day at my new school and asking me every time you see me about how life is. Also, thanks for giving yourself the most unique grandpa name because everyone needs a Schmoopy in their lives. I love you so much. Mimi, Sally, Poppy, Bubby, and Doc. I wish that you could be here with me on this special day and always, but I promise that I will carry each of you in my heart forever. Ellie, there isn't a lot to say other than stay in your own room, knock on my door, and don't use my newly bought products. I love you so much whether you're getting on my nerves or not. I look up to you a lot, so don't go to Ole Miss, please, and thank you. Dad, aka Mr. Pumpkin, where do I even start? Maybe the jump scares getting home from school, the surprise tickles, the echoing screams when you're watching the game, or the roof over our heads. You have done so much for our family, and I'm so appreciative of what you do for us. I also love that every once in a while you still smell like blueberries and vanilla. P.S. We still need to set up our volleyball net, so let's get to it. Mom, my role model, my kid's here, my best friend, my twin. Face ID even says so just accept the fact that I am not Dad's twin. I still love you even when you buy me fancy clothes that I don't particularly like. You have been my anything and everything since day one. Thank you for always being there for me when I need you, even when I don't even realize I do. Thank you for believing in me and encouraging me to be the best version of myself. I know that you will always be my biggest cheerleader. I love you so much. And to all of my friends who are really more like family to me, thank you guys so much for coming because without you guys, I wouldn't be who I am today. Shabbat Shalom.
You can clap for her. It was good. Thank you. A+ friends. Yasher Koach to Lauren for a wonderful davar Torah and bringing not wonderful thank yous and lots of love, but also just a lot of great learning for all of us. So thank you for that. Like I said, we do demand a lot out of our B'nai Mitzvah here at Beth Yeshurim, but they rise to the occasion beautifully. So Lauren will now be chanting part of the Haftorah. We have, the service is not long enough. So not only do we have Torah, we have Haftorah. We have something from the prophets that is paired with the reading from the Torah every week. And you'll find that on page 222, technically. And it's a special one. It's a special one today, just for Lauren. Because the prophet we're going to be today is the entire book of Obadiah. One book, one guy. It's it's the shortest book of the prophets ever. And he's also the only prophet we have who's a Jew by choice. He's a convert. And he has a really interesting parallel between Jacob and Esau and Jews and non-Jews and that whole thing. You can read it. It's very interesting and poetic. But I just like Obadiah as a person. I like that we as Jews have a prophet who was not born Jewish. I think that's really cool. So you can see the reading from prophets we have for today at Haftorah for Lauren's Bat Mitzvah on page 222, book of Obadiah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Chazon Ovadia Kalamar Adonai Elohim le'edam Shemua Shamanu Me'et Adonai Vetzir Bagoyim Shulach Kumu Venakuma Aleha Lamilchama Hine Katon Netaticha bagoyim bazoi ata me'od Zedon libecha hishyecha Shochni v'chavei salam arom shivto Omer belibo Mi yorideni aretz Im tagbiach kanesher Ve'im bein kochavim sim kinecha Misham oridecha ne'um Adonai Im ganavim ba'ulecha, im shodedei laila, ech nidmeta, halo yignevu dayam, im botzrim ba'ulach, halo yashiru olelot, Echnech besu esav niv'u matpunav ad hagevul shilahucha kol anshe veritecha yishiyucha yachelu lecha anshe shalomecha lachmecha yasimu mazor tachtecha ein tevuna bo halaho Bayom hahu ne'um Adonai v'ha'avati chachamim edam udvuna meharesav v'chatu giborecha teman leman yikaret ish mehar esav mikatel mechamahas achicha Yaakov techasecha v'usha v'nichrata leolam Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol ha'olamim, sadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, hamdaber u'mkayem, shechol devarav, emet v'tzedek. Ne'eman, atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, Bedavar echad midvarecha, achor lo yashuv reikam. Ki el melech ne'eman, v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai. El ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav. Rachem al Tzion, ki hi beit chayenu, v'la aluvat nefesh toshia, b'mhera ve'amenu. Baruch atah Adonai, mesameach Zion bevanecha. Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'eliyahu hanavim avdecha, uvmalchut beit David mishichecha, bimhera yavo ve'agel libenu, al kisa lo yeshev zar, ve'lo yinchalu ad ha'acharim ed kevodo. Ki v'shem kodshecha nishbatalo, shalo yichbet nero leolam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shema.
Magen David. Al ha'Torah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'nevi'im, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, l'kdusha v'linucha, lechavod u'tifaret. Al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umvarchim otach, yitbarach shimcha befi kol chai, tamid leolam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. Throw the candies.
So we'll call upon all of our children to come pick up the candy. No more throwing. We don't want the candy to go in any more spots. But let's have all our kids come pick up the candy. And Lauren's friends as well. You're welcome to come up. We got plenty of candy to pick up.
Especially all wearing pants. You don't want to wear a miniskirt, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta.
We got a lot. We need some good vacuums up here.
We have a lost bracelet.
Ah. Oh, you know what? I need a Hanukkah gift for Lisa. I'm just kidding. So this is quite a moment for our family and for Lauren. and her parents, and for Sister Ellie, and for all of us. And so now I'm going to ask the cantor to lead us in a prayer of thanksgiving, Ashechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Blessed you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who's kept us in life, sustained us, and allowed us to reach this very special time. And let us say, Amen. So before we go on in our service, just a couple of things. One, someone dropped a bracelet up here. It's a really pretty bracelet. So I'll leave this right here for anyone who's like it. And it's awesome to see many of Lauren's classmates and friends here. But just a reminder for all our guys, you got to have kippahs on. And if you're Jewish and 13 or over, you got to get a tallis. And I see a couple guys with buds. Let's take those out of their ears. Appreciate that. So make sure to get a kippah and a tallis out there if you're 13 and over, okay? It's great to have you all here. And we're now ready to continue our service as our president, David Stein, leads us in a prayer for the United States and Israel.
Almighty God on high, omnipotent King, look down from your heavenly abode and bless the United States of America. May our leaders strive to establish justice and opportunity for all, and may they be successful in bringing peace to the family of nations. May your favor rest on our beloved state of Israel, its land and all those who dwell therein. Protect Israel from war and hatred, and may our Jewish state bring comfort to those who seek refuge, light to those who dwell in darkness, and new hope to all humanity. We ask your blessings upon the valiant servicemen and women of the American military forces and the Israel Defense Forces who risked their lives to protect the welfare of all your creation. Be their shelter and fortress, and do not allow them to falter. Fill their hearts with faith and courage. Protect them on land, in the air, and on the sea. Guide them in peace, lead them toward peace, and return them speedily to their families alive and unharmed. And let us all together say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you, David. Next weekend, next Shabbat, we have two beautiful B'nai Mitzvah, Saul Levine and Ella Tots, who would now lead us in the Ashrei, page 181.
Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yehalelu Hasela.
Ashrei Shekachalo, Ashrei Shalom
Tehila LeDavid, Aramim Ha'elohai HaMelech, Va'avarcha Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed.
B'chol yamav archecha, v'ala shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai U'al Me'od, Ve'ligdulato in Heker.
V'orider shabbat masecha, u'korotecha yagidu.
Hadar Kevod Hodecha, V'divrei Niflotecha Asiha.
V'zmuzorotecha yomeru, u'gdulatcha saprena.
Zecher Ravtucha Yaviu, V'tzidkatcha Yiranenu.
Anun v'rachum Adonai, erech ha'payim u'gdol chased.
Tov Adonai Lakol, V'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yaducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yevarchucha.
Kevod Malchutcha Yomeru, U'vuradcha Yedaberu.
להודיע למיידם גבורותיו, וכבוד הדר מלכותו.
Malchutecha Malchut kol olamim, U'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
Einei v'leilecha yisaberu, Ve'ata noten lachem et ochlam beito.
פותח את ידיך, ומשפיע לכל חי רצון.
Tzadik Adonai bechol derachav, Ve'chasid bechol ma'asav.
הרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
Ritzon Yereav Yaseh, Ve'et Shabbatam Yishma v'Yoshiem.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל הרשעים ישמיד.
Tehilat Adonai yedaber pi, V'yivarech kol basar Shem kosho le'olam va'ed. Va'anachnu nevarech ya, Me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah.
What a beautiful day this has been for Chris and Jaffrey as they've seen their daughter Lauren become a bat mitzvah. Now, before the open ark, they offer their parents prayers. Please rise.
We stand here today on the day that our sweet Lauren becomes a bat mitzvah. Before God, our family, and our dearest friends, and at this very meaningful and deeply spiritual time in the life of our daughter and our family. And we are forever grateful to God for the precious gift he gave us. You, our kind, compassionate, intelligent, and loving daughter. And we are grateful to God for all that he has given you, Lauren. You are blessed with a beautiful heart, an inquisitive mind, good instincts, and the desire and determination to shine brightly in this world. We thank God for the 13 years of his nurturing and sustaining you, and for the countless joys and beautiful memories that these years have brought to you and to our family. We ask for God's continued blessings as you begin this new chapter in your life. Lauren, we ask that God always watch over and protect you, empower and inspire you to be the best and most authentic version of yourself, and that your Jewish faith guides you in bountiful acts of tikkun olam, that you may share your loving kindness and radiant beauty with this world to make it a better place. And we know that you will, because every place is better with you in it. May you forever remember and cherish this day and this new beginning for you as an independent, strong, and capable Jewish woman.
Lauren, my speed queen, my scare bear, my female doppelganger, despite what Facebook says, my pumpernickel. What an unexpectedly long and very unusual journey this has been for all of us. We virtually watched so many of your friends become real Jewish adults. Synagogues were empty, but for immediate family. Parties were held in driveways, cats and dogs living together. That's a Ghostbusters reference. You, however, were insistent that your bat mitzvah feel normal, and were determined to wait as long as necessary for it to feel so, even if it meant you might be driving yourself here. So we rescheduled, and we crossed our fingers. And though many months later than we had originally planned, we now stand at the Ark with you, vaccinated. Your friends, family, and the Jewish community stand with you, unmasked, which is no small feat. This may not feel 100% normal, but we once again have access to hand sanitizer and paper products, so I think we'll call this acceptable. Now as you embark on the next phase of your journey, Lauren, and as a young woman, as a young Jewish adult, we ask that God grant you the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to forge your own way. We hope you continue to... You're crying. It's not me. I'm not crying, you're crying. We hope you continue to grow in body and mind, in soul and character. We ask that your faith, your loyalty to our people, and to the teachings of Torah only strengthen with the passage of time. We pray that the words of your teachers help guide you, and that the voices of those no longer with us forever echo within you, and that you continue to be a blessing to us all. I love you.
And now, Lador Vador, from generation to generation, the Sefer Torah and all of its teachings are passed down to our bat mitzvah, Lauren.
Hallelujah, et Shem Adonai, ki niskav Shem levado.
ידו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם קרן לעמו. תהילה לכל חסידיו, תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל, עם קרובו, עם קרובו. Shalom bihimroma, uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom bihimroma, uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva, chadesh yameinu, chadesh yameinu
Good Shabbos, and you may be seated. It's good to have everyone here this morning and to celebrate this beautiful occasion. Years ago, after graduating University of Texas, I was so excited. I graduated college and I was accepted into rabbinical school, and I was heading to Israel to study to be a rabbi. And I thought my professors, classmates would welcome me with open arms. And some did, but many did not. Many of them questioned, what was a guy from Texas doing studying to be a rabbi? What was someone who was in a fraternity doing, thinking they could be a rabbi? Or someone who didn't grow up observant at all? How could I be a rabbi? And some said, classmates, even professors, that I would never make it as a rabbi. It wasn't the easiest year. And some of my classmates, believe it or not, were not some of the best people. We all have them. People in our previous lives that we wish we could see now. Show them what actually happened. Tell them they were wrong. Give them a piece of our mind. Finally get rid of any grudges we may have. But what really happens when we see them in person? In this week's Torah portion, Esau and Jacob meet again after 20 years, and the encounter has the potential to be quite violent. After all, Jacob bribed and stole Esau's birthright and his firstborn blessing. Jacob had to flee knowing that Esau said he would kill him. And now, 2 decades later, Jacob learns that Esau is coming to meet him with an army of 400 men. Jacob is justifiably nervous. Esau finally has his chance. But what does Esau do? V'yaratz Esau likroto. Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they burst into tears. Esau falls on his brother's neck and kisses him. No one saw that coming. But like Esau, don't we usually do the same? An old teacher, a colleague, a high school classmate, someone who wasn't so nice to us. Maybe they made life difficult, perhaps even wronged us. But over the years, we think that we finally have the chance, we're going to do something to show them just how angry we really are. But in the end, when given that chance, do we actually do anything at all? Now, when I see those same colleagues at conferences or rabbinic seminars, I don't say anything. In fact, I think I'd be embarrassed to say something. Who wants to admit that they still hold a grudge, especially for someone they don't like? Maybe that's what allows Esau to forgive or to let go or to even embrace his brother. Maybe he just didn't want to admit to Jacob that he still harbored any ill will. For Esau, why give Jacob the pleasure of knowing how much grief he's caused him over the years? Or perhaps Esau came to see what had happened is not such a big deal. Aren't there times when we look back at something that happened years earlier and at the time we thought was the most important thing in the world? And then years later, we realize that perhaps what we thought was so important has become less over time. In fact, maybe we realize what was so bad at the time turned out to be a great blessing. Often when I meet with middle school or high school students or having a difficult time at school, dealing with classmates that aren't so nice, I remind them that those middle school or high school years are so fleeting. They're so quick. And in the big picture, they're so unimportant. To not lose sight of the bright future they have ahead of them. To remind them that there is life past middle school and there is a good life past high school. And to remind them that perhaps what they see is so bad at the time can turn out to be a great blessing. While at the time it was difficult for me to bear some of the abuse of my rabbinical school classmates, yet it helped me realize how important it was to be compassionate to others who are different. And perhaps the experience made me a better person or even a better rabbi. And maybe Esau felt the same. He's done all right for himself. Esau's rich, he's a powerful man with a large, loving family. Perhaps Esau realized he was better off without the burden of his father's birthright and blessing. Maybe Esau sees what Jacob did as a godsend. Or maybe Esau just comes to see what happened so long ago is not that big of a deal. He simply moved on, made the best of the blessings he still has. Maybe Esau realized that it's a lot healthier to let go of our grudges by moving on, by forgetting, by letting go, by erasing what happened from his memory. In his remarkable book, The Mind of a New Monist, Russian psychologist Alexandria Luria describes a man who had an extraordinary memory. Show him a page of several hundred random numbers, and he could instantly remember them in order. Read an entire opera to him in Italian, and he could instantly remember the entire opera. Go to him 15 years later, and he still remembered the entire opera word for word. It was an incredible memory. And so you would think that this man's life was fantastic. He could remember anything that ever happened. But it turns out that the man would have done anything to have this special talent removed. It was more of a curse than a blessing. His unbelievable memory made him hold on to every time someone slighted him, every time someone was unkind to him, every time someone broke a promise. His mind became so cluttered up with things he wished he could forget. Basically, he couldn't hold on to any type of friendship, not even relationships with his family, because the memories of other people's misdeeds held him back from ever maintaining a personal connection with anyone. And the man ends up miserable, withdrawn, alone in the world. In our tradition, we refer to God as Zocher HaNishkahot, the one who remembers all that is forgotten. According to the Jewish tradition, only God can handle remembering everything. None of us should ever have to bear that terrible burden. Yes, no matter the reason, when we encounter someone who wronged us after years later, when we finally encounter that person, we often don't say a word. Maybe it's because we don't want the other person to know we're still hurting, or we see what happened as a blessing, or we found some other ways to forget what happened. And because I think we all know deep down inside, when we move on from our hurt and our anger by letting go, it's not just the other person who benefits. More importantly, we ourselves benefit. In my work, some of the most depressed people I encounter and counsel are those who are constantly living with resentments and grudges. I've seen that the energy it takes to harbor anger, harbor hatred, and harbor bitterness towards others, it's exhausting. I think we all know it's not easy dwelling in the past and at the same time preparing for an imagined future encounter with the one who wronged us. Can there be a better use of our energies? Pastor Joel Osteen offers a great analogy. He writes, "One time I was walking through a large office building, and there were two sets of double doors about 15 feet apart. They were both automatic doors. When you walked through the first set of doors, you had to let them totally close before the next set of doors would open. As long as I stayed at that first set of doors, the second set would not open." It's the same principle in life. If you're sitting around nursing your wounds, feeling sorry for yourself, harboring resentments, you're not going to see anything new. You've got to let those doors totally close behind you. And only by doing so, only by letting go, can you enter some new doors in your life. Often portrayed as the great villain, by embracing his brother Jacob this week, Esau sets a great example for us all. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And now let us return to our service as we prepare for the last part, the last section, the Musaf service. Let us rise, page 184.
גדל והתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד לבחילותי וימיך מלכותי, וחי יכולנו ומכון וחי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. ישתבח ויתפאר ויתשומע ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה מכל בחדה בשירתה, ושבחתה ונחמתה, Namiran be'alma ve'himeru. Amen. We join together the opening of the Amidah, 185. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei HaKol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot, u'mevii Goel libnei bneihem, leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Hozer u'Foked u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ufokei Sarah, Ata gimor leolam Adonai, mechayim et imata, Rav lehoshia, Mashiva ruach ומוריד הגשם, מגלגל חיים בחסד, בחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ונופי חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נריצך ונקדישך כסוד שליח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו, לעומתם לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ממקומו יפן, הוא יפן ברחמים, ויחון העם יחד עם שמו, ויחון העם יחד עם שמו, ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים באהבה שמה אומרים, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו אבינו, ומלכנו מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו, שנית 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 לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים. ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, כי אל מלך גדול, מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue silently, pages 188 through 191. Please be seated as you conclude the Amidah. Continue page 203. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברי חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, וחייכנו ומכנו וחי לכל בית ישראל, הגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה, בריחו, לעילם כל אחד המשירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה לאמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותנו ואותנו כל ישראל, כל העם בהוד ישמעיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמעיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. We turn to page 204 as Lauren and all her friends and cousins lead us in Ein Kelohenu.
Mazel tov, Lauren. Congratulations. And you're definitely the first bat mitzvah I've ever had to look up to. For sure. And we have a lot to celebrate today. A lot to look up to you figuratively as well. Done such a beautiful job today. And we can feel the love that you have for everyone here and they have for you. And how proud you make your parents and your sister and so many people in your life. And you make us all very proud here at Beth Yeshurun today. And we have a lot of gifts to give you, a beautiful tzedakah box from our Beth Yeshurun Sisterhood, a Kiddush cup from our Beth Yeshurun 100 Jewish Men, a gift certificate to one of our local kosher restaurants, so you can see how many great kosher restaurants we have here in Houston, a gift certificate to the Evelyn Rubenstein Jewish Community Center, a $100 State of Israel bond, courtesy of the AI and Minette Shep's Israel Bonding Fund, and of course, a certificate of bat mitzvah, that I know that you'll hang in your home and have there for many years to come to remember this day. And I love not only you prepared for this day, but you also have made the pledge to give 10% of your monetary gifts to the MD Anderson Cancer Center in honor of your grandmother, Barry Waldman Mintz. May she continue to rest in peace, and I know she's with us in spirit today, and how proud she must be. And Laura, I've known you for a very long time, since you were born. I had the honor of doing your baby naming way back when. And to see you grow up now to be this wonderful young woman. And I love the fact that, thank God, we got to postpone this, and it worked out great. We were supposed to do it last May, and now we did it 6 months later, and everything worked out really well. And now you're in 8th grade, and I think maybe you appreciate this day even more, and you know how much work it takes. There's a lot to praise about you, Lauren, a lot of good things. A lot of things we can be very happy about. I love that the fact that your parents consider you their sunshine, that you bring so much positive energy in any situation. You're a magnet. So many people want to be around you. You're authentic and genuine, spunky and full of life, a great ball of good energy, or your mom calls you her firecracker. And you're also a leader. Your family and your friends setting a great dugma, a great example for so many. And you also have a sensitive side. You enjoy making things better for other people. and you're not afraid to try anything. Curious and brave, you often find the good in so many things that you do, and you're very involved. You're an 8th grade student at Emory Wiener where you work hard, you enjoy theater, volleyball, playing at Emory and in club, and first year you're already the captain of the volleyball team. You also enjoy basketball, tennis camp in the summer, and dance. And for many years, you've been involved in competitive jazz, contemporary hip-hop, ballroom. You've done it all. And now you're on the Emory Wiener dance team. And you have a terrific singing voice, as we got to hear last night and today. And I know we'll be calling you again in the future to lead different prayers, and I know you'll take advantage of that. You have no choice. I know your parents well. Your mom and dad are already nodding yes, so we'll call next week. And I love that you're the school choir at Emory for many years. In so many ways, Lauren, you're a go-getter and you get good things done. And I asked you a few weeks ago, what does this all mean to become a bat mitzvah? And you told me, Rabbi, it brings a new perspective and a new step into my Jewish adulthood. And you feel like you understand more now and look forward to understanding more as you get older. And that's ultimately what it's all about, is growing, learning, continuing that journey, never giving up, always wanting to learn more. As we see the example in our Torah portion this week, when Jacob's name is changed from Jacob, from Yaakov, to Yisrael, to Israel. And we often don't realize it, but the word Yisrael, Israel, means Yisrael, to struggle with God, to struggle with being Jewish, to struggle with a world that's not always fair, to struggle with a world that things happen that we don't want them to happen. And the rabbis tell us that his name is changed to Israel because we are Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. That it wasn't just up to Jacob. It's not just up to our ancestors. It's not just up to our grandparents and parents. It's up to us, especially when we become Bnei Mitzvah, to go out and struggle with the world, to struggle with it, to get involved so we can make it better. And that's my charge to you. The world needs good, young Jewish girls like yourself to go out and be proudly Jewish and at the same time do our best to go out and improve the world around them. I look forward to seeing it happen, and you're going to bring many blessings to your family and to all of us here at Beth Yeshurun for many, many years to come. Mazel tov, Lauren, on a beautiful job today. And now I ask everyone to rise as the cantor and I have the opportunity to bless our bat mitzvah before the open ark. May Lauren continue to be a blessing to her family, her community, and the entire house of Israel.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God always bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God always show you his favor and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God only show you kindness and give you that greatest blessing of all, that of shalom, that of peace. And let us all say, Amen.
Give me
You may be seated. For those who are observing a yard site or are currently in mourning, you are invited to turn to page 207 and to join me for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirotei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'b'chayei lechol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'bizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav, huya oseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. You may be seated. One quick reminder announcement in case you didn't hear the rumors, they're true. We announced it last night also for the Hanukkah, which is starting the Sunday of Thanksgiving break weekend. Ridiculous, but it is what it is. To celebrate the very last night of Hanukkah, we have here at Beth Yeshurun our final night celebration, Light Up the Night, called because, of course, Hanukkah is the festival of lights. So what are we going to do? It's Beth Yeshurun. We don't do anything by half. So for our final night of Hanukkah, we're going to have 5 p.m., all your favorite foods, all the Hanukkah fun stuff, and we'll be capping off that final night with a big menorah lighting, 8 candles, and then we'll go out to the parking lot for some fireworks, because what better way to celebrate the festival of lights than with some lights. So that's Light Up the Night for the last night of Hanukkah here at Beth Yeshurun, starting at 5 p.m. That is Sunday, December 5th.
All right. Thank you, Rabbi Fort. And just a reminder, at the conclusion of our service, we're all invited to the Plasky Rauch Auditorium to celebrate with Lauren and her family at the occasion of this bat mitzvah. And now to bring our service to a close, I want to call upon all of Lauren's classmates and friends that are here to come up to the bima and to join her, to help her lead us in a Don Olam. And we turn to our prayer book, page 211.
Adon olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, it nasa v'chepsa kol azayim melech shemon nikra, v'yacharei kichlot hakol, levado yimloch nora, v'hu haya v'hu hove v'hu yeh b'tifara, v'hu echad ben sheni, להמשיל ולהכבירה, ולראשית ולתכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא עלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי ביצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוסני, מנת כוסי ביום נקרא, בידו אחי רוחי, הייתי שם ויעירה, עם רוחי Adonai li Eloi Ra.
And please rise now for the Kiddush and the Hamotzi.
Al Kain Berach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat vayikadshehu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai. Okay, there we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos, y'all. Good Shabbos, guys. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Good Shabbos, guys.